Hey, welcome everybody tonight to an impromptu post-draft special edition of Axis Live, where we're going to recap and talk about tonight's first round of the Season 15 SFL Draft. We have about a dozen people on the panel tonight, probably too many to introduce at this point. Welcome all 26 of you for listening tonight. And those of you being on the panel tonight, I really appreciate it. I want to start off with SFL Commissioner Cameron Irvine. And I'd like to ask Cam, number one, how did you think the draft went tonight overall, mostly from a production standpoint? And number two, how do you compare it to what was done last year for the draft?
Thanks, Dave. Well, it's such a relief that the rookie draft is over and I don't have to do that again for another 6 months.
Right.
I was very exhausted. Oh, that's right.
Oh, wait a minute.
We have more draft all week long. It was good. You know, the previous draft, obviously, we took a big step forward doing it from the production studio. When we were at the studio, FTF Studios, we had a producer, 2 camera operators, a sound engineer, a graphics guy. I texted the picks in to sort of their local master control. They were able to put the player names on screen, things like that. We had a whole, team, and it was very cool getting to shake people's hands, do it in person. And things like that, and just have everybody there. We went out afterwards. It was a very cool thing. This draft, very much like a lot of things during this pandemic, was a little bit more kind of on my shoulders from a production standpoint. I mean, all I had was master control following along with my script, and it was really, really intense and insane. We had 3 different Google Meet rooms. I had graphics going, people, analysts seeing my screen, me changing all the, pick numbers and the scroll bar and the team info and, who we looked at when, and trying to identify reactions, real-time reactions when we could get them. We hurt for Coco a little bit, cut to him just a little bit too early. He looked thrilled about his pick until he just pulled that Andy photo out of nowhere, so he made up for it.
Right.
But it was unlike anything I've ever seen in terms of a community draft like that. And, a couple of hitches, but, I mean, by and large, I couldn't have asked for much better.
Yeah, I think from a viewer standpoint, it looked like it went off without a hitch. Everything seemed real smooth. I think, like you said, maybe the only obvious thing was going too soon and seeing someone not ready for the reaction. But I think from a viewer standpoint, I think it actually went really well. What do you think about so many defensive players being selected in the first round? I know that was kind of a trend last year when in the Season 14 draft, was mixed in with a few fullbacks and I think 1 or 2 wide receivers. But do you think that this is going to be a trend from here on out, or do you think it just happens that this season there's more defensive holes to fill?
It was kind of shocking because there are teams that need quarterbacks, running backs, receivers, and I think that once teams didn't take, like for example, once St. Louis took a defensive player. Once, Vegas didn't take a running back. Once those teams early in the round didn't go offense, I think some of the teams in the later rounds thought, well, I better go get some defensive guys because a lot of defensive guys on my board are gone, and I need to make sure that I get them before they're taken. So I think it was kind of a domino effect of those early teams not going offense. And I think some teams in the later rounds may have had second thoughts about taking offense early. And I would expect to see a lot more offense in round 2 because there's a ton of offensive players with value, and there's no reason for them not to be scooped up. So I think it's going to be a lot more offensive tomorrow night, if I had to guess.
Right. Let me move on to Liam for a moment. Liam, You took Benji Madsen, which is offense for as a tight end, and with your first pick, but then you also covered defense with your last pick with Jeff Gagne. What was your thought process for the first round? Were you trying to? Was that already set in stone? Did you have to move some things around at the last minute? Kind of give us an overview of what you guys were looking at for your first round.
Thanks for having me, Dave. First of all, I just want to thank Commissioner Cameron Irvine for trying to talk me out, not only of the time to speak now, but of actually coming onto this show. Before he came on, he told me to go to bed, and I think I've still got about an hour left in me before we reach 4 o'clock, which is the official record for how late I have stayed up for the SFL before. So yeah, I wouldn't say we necessarily planned it. Well, we kind of did. I mean, you never know how draft night's going to go. You know, in the past, we've had surprises. You know, things have happened, and we've had to switch around our plans. But you know, for most of this evening, you know, me and myself and Tanner and Angus were just sat in the room waiting to see whether or not our guy would fall to us, which was Jeff. And you know, we were pretty confident about Benji being in the third spot. We knew that the couple of expansion teams above us probably had different priorities there, not looking necessarily at a tight end. We've had a great tight end playing in the past. We have Robert. He's a great player, tight end, who's departed and gone to the Toros.
Right.
I'm pretty sure that's right. It's nearly 4. It's nearly 4. So I'm just about struggling to cope at this point. But yeah.
Hey, you know what though? Robert, hey, kudos to you for staying up, because I know Slim Shady. He cashed it in like right at the end of the draft. So thanks for staying up with us. We appreciate that.
Hey, that's Slim for you. That's all I'm saying. You know.
Right.
I love that guy. I love that guy to bits. I just say in terms of the way that we plan things out, you know, those two guys were the top five boards, so we got the two guys that we wanted. I think that in terms of how we approached it, we have an acceptance that we probably won't necessarily meet cap. Right. So we just wanted to fit the guys we wanted in our builds, and also from a personality point of view. You know, you saw what it means to guys. People were saying about me being on the call with Benji, and that created a really good moment for the league. And I had people reaching out to me, you know, saying what a cool moment that was. But you know, it's more than just about being points on the board. You know, it's more about what a person is and getting people who are committed to the project. You know, we're not rebuilding in London. We're planning to win. We want to get into the playoffs this season. We want to win the championship, but there's an understanding that this is going to take more than just a single season. You know, it's an ongoing thing, and we just want to build ourselves up. And we're delighted to get the guys that we did. No real, you know, there's surprises in some of the other picks and the way that the draft format sort of played out. The one thing which stood out to me really was the fact that there were no trades, and that's quite disappointing.
I was actually expecting some first round trades for sure. I agree with you.
So that's pretty much me. I'll stick around for a little bit, and then I'm gonna jump off because I'm pretty tired.
Let me do this. Let me just ask you one more question, then we'll let you jump off before I move on to Eddie Gage.
Cool.
In the past, and you know, and just a little personal maybe, and I'm not trying to put you on blast or anything, but there maybe has been some personality issues with some of the previous players in London. How important was it to find the right fit for your locker room, the right fit for your team, and look at people like the person over the player? We've discussed this on previous shows of mine, where a lot of owners care, they want the right person in their organization, and you can always build the player as opposed to taking the value and then hoping the person fits in. How much did that play into your first round tonight?
I think we've always it's not something we've ignored in the past. I think we have. I think there have been cases in the past maybe where we haven't necessarily prioritised it as much as we should have. But I don't think I can only think of a very rare few examples where it was someone who was just not a personality fit, and I don't think that was just necessarily for London. I think that was for the league. So for me, we went into it with the mindset of, look, we have a specific build. We want to build specific players, develop them, and also develop people who are good for the league. And we think we've got two guys in Benji and Jeff who are real top of the class people as well as players. So. We're happy about having them, and we're looking forward to we do it all again tomorrow evening. Myself and Tanner have got to get together and have a chat about what our plans are, and it's going to be interesting. It may. I think the two final things I would probably say, one being a real St. Louis homer, I'm disappointed. By the pick, I think that the player himself is good, but I think they had to pick Dynasty personally.
Yeah.
Or an offensive player at all. And that saddens me to say that. But I think we all try to be positive in the SFL for each other.
Right.
I very much struggle, and I'm one of Dwayne and Colin's biggest fans, but that really hurt.
Yeah.
Not seeing them draft a franchise QB who I think would have been there for the long haul. But the what was the second thing I was going to say? Second thing is I think that and not to criticise Lone Star, Dave. Because I don't think they necessarily predicted this, but Lone Star may have missed a trick with drafting a quarterback, because it looks like all the skill players have gone into the second round, and there could have been a decision to go with a different position there and then wait until the second round.
Right.
It was actually someone pointed out to me. I thought that it looked like the first round wouldn't have any QBs, but of course I was reminded that Lone Star did draft a QB, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Obviously, you get your guy, you got a guy you want to get. The way that I would probably say that Lone Star did the most amazing job of actually presenting the pick, and that I think that's a testament to the ownership group and the way that your franchise is set up. And I think that. We like to do our own things in London with the call and speaking to the guys, and it seems like a lot of owners like to do that as well. So being able to get a look at everybody was real nice, but yeah, credit to Cam and everybody who's involved, and I'm gonna see you all again tomorrow.
All right, great. Hey, and just so you know, Slim Shady popped into the chat and said he's always watching it anyway, so it looks like he stayed up with you after all. So
yeah, whatever, Matthew.
I know. Okay. All right.
I'm more dedicated.
There you go. Attaboy, Liam. Hey, thanks for coming on. We really appreciate you staying up, and we'll talk to you when we talk to you.
Cool. See you guys tomorrow.
All right. Take care. Eddie Gage. Couple things. What did you think about London's picks? What Liam just said, going tight end with the third pick of the draft, and then securing the first round with a linebacker going defense.
Well, the linebacker pick was pretty obvious to me. They feeling a need and they got good value out of it. So I wasn't shocked there. And then they lost Robert in free agency. So Liam is an offensive head coach, and that wasn't a shocker either. I mean, I thought they may go wide receiver, but like I said, Robert, in my opinion, and this is just me, he may not have the production in comparison to the other guys, but to me, he's one of the better tight ends in the SFL, and he's a guy that you have to replace because I like the guy. I like his build. So, I mean, he isn't used as much as some of the other guys like you see in Atlanta or Arizona before I started coaching. Who knows how it's going to turn out with me doing it? But you know, Robert has a great build and he's a good weapon, and I hope he'll be utilized more this season. So no, I wasn't surprised to see him pick up a tight end either.
Okay. Hey, I'm gonna get to Adam in a second, but I want to ask Cam a real quick question. Hey, Cam, how far in advance did you get like maybe the first pick of the draft or first couple picks of the draft? I mean, David Harrell is a linebacker. I think everybody had him going maybe top 4, top 5, but I don't think any mock drafts had him going number 1. So is that something that was already submitted to you a while back, or did you just get it, once they were on the clock?
Yeah, I got it a couple minutes after they were on the clock.
Okay.
So yeah, it came through, and from the time that somebody submits a pick to the time that we actually can announce it on the air is probably like 2 minutes.
Okay.
So the latency there for production is not too bad, but yeah, you see those owners on the phone, and you even heard Curtis reference it a couple times tonight where, they're off the phone and they're kind of done, but we're kind of waiting on the pick to come through. So
right.
Yeah, it was all dynamic right there in front of me.
How much time are they going to have for picks in round 2?
It's all rounds are 5 minutes.
It's all going to be 5 minutes the whole way. Okay,
yeah.
Great. All right, thanks. Hey, Adam, thanks for coming in. And let's see if you can unmute yourself. I wanted to have you in here because you coached in the SFL minor league this season, so you probably saw some of your players drafted. How did that feel about being a coach and watching your players that you just coached? Oh, I can't unmute myself. Well, let's see if I can help you. Let's see. No, you're not muted on my end, buddy. It's on Adam. It's on your end, bro. Let me go ahead and skip to Coach real quick while we're waiting for Adam. Coach, any surprises tonight in the draft that you were just like maybe shell-shocked by?
No, not shell-shocked. I mean, I did point out during the show that I sucked at that game because I was wrong a lot.
I heard you say that.
But no, I wasn't shell-shocked. And there's a couple of thoughts that have come up already in the show. We're talking about all the defense. How many offensive players are retiring? People get those prime, and I'm using my air quotes because offensive guys are all divas.
Hey.
People get those spots, and they don't leave nearly as much. I don't know for sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if the turnover on defense is a lot higher. There's more spots. Teams are filling those spots. There's more to be had. So I think that's why I think we could always see defense kind of outnumbering offense in the draft for a while at least. But then the surprises, could Vegas have gotten Jess later? Yeah, they could have.
Yeah,
but they liked him, and I've seen and heard people say we could have played the game differently with Ace.
Yeah,
we liked Ace. We wanted Ace, and Dave, we had the conversation. We can probably get him later, but we liked Ace, and we wanted to give him that first pick in a way. And our cap is going to be exactly where we want it, and it's going to be perfect. So I think I've got a lot of trust in Slyn. I think he's got a plan. Everybody's got a plan, but some work better than others. And so I wasn't like completely floored. It maybe for a half a second, but then it was like, oh, okay, I could see that working out somehow and making sense.
Okay, let me ask you one more question because it looks like Adam's back, so I'm going to go to him. But so you said no shockers, but 2 kickers in the first round. What do you think about that?
Well, we look at who they are. And I saw somebody in chat just now say that Otis Boudreau is a whole front office all to himself, and
good point.
This goes back to my theme all along. You're more than the number next to your name,
Right.
And then Nacho, or I'm sorry, Taco.
Yeah.
I said they're going to draft a relative. I guess I wasn't wrong. And again, in that move, they can get high value later in the draft. It's just the way the draft shook out. And like we said, I think I've said this before, I think the bloodbath is going to be when we get later on and teams start moving around and they're going after this specific value guy that they've kind of rolled the draft.
Yeah, I think round 3 is going to be like that for sure. Yeah, I agree with you. Mm-hmm. Adam, are you back with us, bro?
Yep, I've got you there.
Okay, perfect. Did you hear my question before you had to log off and come back on?
No, I missed the majority of the question.
Okay, no worries. I just wanted a perspective from you. You coached in the SFL minor league this season, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I just wanted a perspective from you. How did it feel as a coach and seeing the guys that you've coached and spent time with in the locker room and invested, time in, and watched them get drafted tonight? And if you remind me which of your players got drafted as well.
So we had 6 of our players from Birmingham get drafted.
Okay.
So we had the first 3 picks. David, Bernard, and then Benji. And we also had Gerald Winkler to St. Louis, Rain Rowe to Jacksonville, and Bob Funk to Portland.
Wow, you had a big day.
Yeah, I think that's the most. I think he had the most picks out of all the SFLM teams in the first round. So, I honestly feel like a proud dad.
Right. No, I believe you.
Most of those guys are older than me, but yeah, I still feel like it's just very proud to see those guys get picked to start their SFL careers, and I think the landing spots for all those guys were perfect fits. And yeah, to have the first 3 go off the board, I was stunned. I knew I'd have Dave and Bernard go off the board pretty early.
Right.
But Benji going 3rd was a little bit of a shock to me.
Mm-hmm.
We all thought, most of Birmingham thought about 6 players would go in the first round. So we just kind of flipped Benji and Ben around. So, we thought Ben was going to go to either St. Louis or Atlanta. So hopefully in the second round, he'll be going to one of those 2 spots as a quarterback. So
is that the only person from your team that you thought would have gotten drafted in the first round that did not?
Him and Joey Schwint, defensive end, were the 2 that I was probably borderline first round. I thought Ben would. I thought we'd have more run on quarterback, so I thought Ben would definitely be one of the 3 quarterbacks taken.
Yeah, I thought that as well.
And Joey was possible of sneaking into the late in that first round as a defensive end. So
okay, awesome. All right, well, hey, thank you for being on the show. Really appreciate it. I may come back to you with a follow-up question if you want to stick around for a little bit.
Sure.
All right, so everybody knows that we've had the mock draft guys on. Was it last Tuesday night? And I've got a few of them on here, so I'm going to probably start. I'm just going to go in order here. I'm going to start with Eagle. And I'm just going to ask you, for the first round of your mock draft, how many picks did you get correct?
So, player, I picked 1 out of the 22.
Okay.
But positions, I picked 8 out of the 22.
Okay.
I do know that I got some feedback when I put my last mock out where I was defensive heavy, and they didn't think it was going to be defensive heavy. I actually had 17 defensive picks in the first round, and we ended up with 16. So I was pretty close with that.
Oh, that's not too bad. Okay, Frank, what about you?
I believe I had 3 correct.
What?
3 correct, and then I had a couple of position corrects too.
Okay. Real quick, before Mike Twin Screw, before I get to you, hey, Gunny's on here. Is on the show. Gunny, anytime you feel like you want to chime in with any of your pearls of wisdom that you have, just unmute yourself and blurt them out, and I'll get you in. Hopefully he's listening. Okay, Mike Twin Screw, go ahead.
So I had 1 player correct in 4 positions.
In 4 positions?
Yep, that was it.
Okay, and then Thomas, what about you?
I had 3 players correct and 10 positions.
10. Okay, so you guys did a lot better on positions, which kind of makes more sense, right? That's you see the hole that needs to be filled with the position, and then at that point you're just trying to figure out which person it's going to be. Going back up to Eagle for a minute, any surprises tonight for you?
I would say one of the kickers, Otis, without question, is we've talked about it. He's he's a whole front office by himself with everything he wants to do. I had Taco going to Fort Worth, but it wasn't until round 3. So I would say for me, it would have been 2 kickers in the first round.
Yeah, 2 kickers in the first round. I agree with that. Yeah, I agree. Frank, what about you? Surprises?
I would say the kickers and the one offensive lineman that QCC took, Queen City took.
Okay.
It was a surprise to me.
Okay. Who's next up here? Who do I have? Oh, twin screw. How about you?
Yeah, I agree with Frank. The kickers in that one O.
Like the kickers and the one offensive line. And then Thomas, where do you stand with that?
For me, it's two different things. The number one thing, it just blew my mind that there's three teams that need QBs, at least three that need running back, and then all the teams that need some more wide receivers, and that we didn't see a single receiver go. We didn't see a single running back go. We saw one QB go. That really blew my mind. And then, as the other guys said, two kickers going in the top 20 kind of blew my mind. I agree. Otis definitely deserved to be up there. Taco, I kind of saw that coming, obviously, the relative there.
Okay.
But it just really blew my mind that only one quarterback went out of all those offensive positions.
Okay. I also have a couple undrafted rookies thus far on the show tonight. One is Zach Holdorf. One is Mike All. Mike, I'm going to go to you first. How you feeling about your chances tomorrow or maybe later in the week?
I mean, I feel like I've got a pretty good chance to go tomorrow. Just based off of what I've been seeing on the mock drafts as my value, and what I've heard from owners and general managers about my value as a person. It was exciting as heck, though, to watch tonight's first round and see a lot of my friends go to teams, especially Jess. That was awesome to see him get drafted on his anniversary.
Yeah, that was really cool. Zach Holdorf, how about you?
Yeah, I think I stand a good chance to go in the next couple of days or so. Just good conversations with teams. Just value. It's a big thing also. So.
Okay. Before I'm going to go back to the mock panel here in a second too, but Cam, real quick, how do you like your new offices, your new buildings, your new studio, and how did you like that, using your new studio tonight versus what you've had to use previously?
Oh man, it was fantastic. I mean, everything worked like a dream, and I mean, stuff like this sounds stupid, but when you have a 4 monitor setup and you have wood floors, it's just so easy to move. Like that can save you minutes upon minutes, like when you add it all up during the draft. Like just the little things like that is pretty funny. But yeah, no, we got the green screen up, and I noticed that a little bit later in the draft it started to seep through, but the lighting had gotten a little bit worse, and I didn't have a chance. I wasn't in a position to get up, turn on a light. So that was, there were some things. I've received some great feedback tonight. The one thing that people have said that they wish we would have had is, I absolutely 100% agree, and that's lower thirds under the people that we put on camera, so that you know who they are.
Right.
And that was absolutely on the plan, on the agenda. We just did not get it finished tonight, but they will be there for round 2, and I would encourage anybody that hasn't been picked yet, all the teams, if you participated tonight or you didn't, I thought that was amazing, and I would love for you to participate in future rounds, and we will continue to do that throughout the draft. Rosca dancing,
yeah, that was great.
The Fennec family party. There were so many awesome things tonight because we had live look-ins on people getting the call. Benji Matzing on the phone
with
getting drafted as he's being asked to analyze something. It was really great, and it was really, really difficult to pull off. I challenge anyone to ever try to pull off that, because I can't even believe I did it. But I'm so glad that I did it, and I'm so glad that it worked. We had a little bit of a delay getting that feed. We would transition out of the panel and come and get the live feed, but other than that, we'll see what we can do to slow that lag time. But other than that, it was a really fantastic evening, and it couldn't have happened without all of you. So
hey, let me ask you a real quick follow-up question from a viewer's point of view, and maybe I just missed it or I didn't understand it, but as you have the team at the bottom that's on the clock, as you look to the left, it said on deck, but the first team on deck and the team actually between the first team on deck and the team on the clock was not showing up. Did I miss where that was somewhere else?
Yeah, sometimes tonight the on deck was a little bit behind, and that was because I did not put the order in front of me.
Okay.
So sometimes I was like, oh shit, well, who's next? And
Right.
so I was like waiting for the scroll to come by or something. So that was a mistake on my part. So there were times that I didn't I was not able to keep it as up to date as I wanted to. But that's essentially if Lone Star's the 12th pick, you'll have the logo with the 12 and the countdown clock, and then obviously the on the clock stuff over to the side.
Right.
And then the on deck team should be 13, 14, 15. There should be 3 of them.
Okay.
Sometimes that didn't work out perfect tonight, but that was my fault, and I will have that corrected.
That's okay. I just wanted to ask because it just popped into my head as you were talking about that other stuff.
Yeah, no, it's a great question.
Okay. Hey, before I go back to the mock drafters, Eddie Gage, let me squeeze you in here one more time. If you had time to eat something, and are you up to par now?
I'm eating right now, but
okay.
I'm not chewing right now, so I'm good. What's up?
Okay. All right. So I want to ask you had a different perspective tonight than a lot of owners because you didn't have, not only do you not have a draft pick tonight, but you don't have a draft pick for the first 4 rounds.
Bruh. I know.
Wait, so I was going to ask you, did you feel kind of left out tonight or did you feel more relieved tonight?
Oh, no, I didn't feel left out at all because I got great talent in free agency. We checked a lot of boxes, but there are a lot of great quality guys in terms of character who I would love to have on my team that I'm praying fall to me.
Okay, like who?
Stay tuned.
Hey, just between you and me, bro. Just between you and me, no? All right. Okay.
Well, there's 47 people looking at your show right now. So
well, let's see. Well, we're about 50 people. That's not too shabby. All right. Back to my mock panel here, real quick. Let's start with Thomas this time. Did you have any players in your first round that that you thought 100% they were going to go in the first round, but that they didn't go today, or did you have somebody in a later round that you knew for sure was not going in the first round and ended up going in the first round?
For the first question, I thought for sure that Mike Twinscrew was going to go in that first round. That really blew my mind, especially with the amount of teams that need wide receiver. That he didn't go in the first round. And then for the second question of somebody that ended up going in the first round that maybe I didn't expect until later. That's probably the tough one there. I don't think there was any really picks like that. I think everybody that went in the first round definitely deserved to be there.
Okay. Speaking of Mike Twinscrew, how about you?
What was the question again? Sorry.
Did you have anybody on your that you thought 100% sure was going to go in the first round and did not go, and or did you have somebody that you thought 100% sure was not going to go in the first round and did?
Well, I thought for sure that Fox was going to go in the first round.
Okay.
There was a couple opportunities there for him to go, and as far as somebody not going, I guess maybe one of the quarterbacks, maybe going to another team. But I understand what they're doing and taking them in the second round.
Okay. Yeah. Actually, we're going to get to quarterbacks here in a second too. As soon as I get through Frank. Frank, same question to you.
Fox was my pick on that. I thought for sure he would fall in the middle of the first round, but that didn't happen. Bryant Dynasty was another one that I thought was a for sure first rounder.
Mm-hmm.
And then the one that got picked in the first round, I had him going to the correct team was Rain Rowe, going to Jacksonville, but I had him going in the second round to Jacksonville.
Okay. All right.
Going there.
I'm sorry. Go ahead and finish. Sorry.
I was saying him going in the first round is really not a surprise, but I just had him listed in the second.
Okay. Eagle, we're going to wrap this question up with you.
Yeah, so I would say the player that I was surprised drafted in the first round, I would agree with Fox, but I'm also going to throw Thomas out there. Thomas Smith, I figured he would get drafted somewhere in that first round.
Okay.
Yes.
I think Eddie agrees with you.
I agree with you.
Look at what Thomas does off the field and everything. It's fantastic for the league. But players that I had outside of the first round that got drafted in the first round, again, I'm going back to Fort Worth with Taco. Like I had Taco to Fort Worth, but I really didn't think it was going to be in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I would go with that question.
Okay. Let me bring Coach back in for a second. Coach, I think there's an obvious answer to my question, but I'm looking for something that's not the obvious for this. I think that the thought process tonight in regards to quarterbacks and running backs is that because there's only 3 spots, there's only 3 teams fighting for them, that a lot of those teams figured, you know what, I can still get good quarterbacks and running backs in the second round or the third round or whatever, get them later. Do you think there's any other reason that quarterbacks and running backs weren't drafted? I mean, we had 1 quarterback and no running backs tonight. Do you think there was any other reason? And actually, let me add in, was there a wide receiver drafted?
No.
No, and no wide receivers. So I'll throw wide receivers in there too, Coach.
Well, any other reason?
Yeah. Or do you think it's just as simple as that?
I think it's as simple as that. I mean, even the quarterback spot, for example. If for some reason we've been further down and we couldn't get Ace, well, we could have taken Ryan Dynasty. We could have, we could have Cameron Curtis. There's so many good choices. So many good choices, and the same with running backs, wide receivers. There's a whole bunch of great wide receivers, and so I just think. And then when you start seeing some positions that maybe there aren't as many solid options go. You think, well, I got to make this move, and so I really think that's the case. I think I don't think there's any other reason for it other than it's a buyer's market in those positions, and there's so much quality at all of those positions. Any other year, any one of these guys is a first round pick.
Right.
Mike Winscrew is a first round pick. Thomas Smith is a first round pick. That one was a little bit surprising because but it's a position that there's other quality players, and so they grabbed the ones that they knew the pool was a little bit shallower, and they wanted to get them done, and they took them.
Yeah. And as I'm just looking over the list. It's literally the whole first round is almost all defensive line and defensive backs. And most of those defensive backs are at corner. I think there's maybe only 1 safety taken. Hey, Adam, I'm going to ask you the same question that I asked Coach. Do you think it's as simple as just, it's a buyer's market, or do you think there's more to that? Oh, did we lose Adam? Is he muted again? All right. You know what, Eddie, I'm going to
Nope, I'm here.
All right, there we go.
Sorry, Dave.
No, you're all right. Go ahead.
Yeah, I do think it's more of a buyer's market on that. Teams don't have to go for the quarterback in the first round. There's only 3 teams. You know who needs the quarterbacks. So I think especially after St. Louis didn't get theirs, there's no reason for Atlanta to go if they feel like they can get their guy in the second round. So I thought St. Louis was going to go quarterback and then Atlanta would follow.
Right.
And you get them all out of the way. I think the same thing with running backs. Once Vegas went with the kicker, Mexico City didn't have to then, take that running back. They can sit there and wait and try to get more value out of that pick later on in the draft. So definitely a buyer's market at those 2 positions.
I would say, yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you've got so many players, because in the SFLM you have at least, 10 or 11 quarterbacks, and the same with running backs. So you got a bunch to choose from in the first 2 rounds.
Right. And I mean, I think based on chat reaction that I was watching, both in a couple of chat rooms I was in, plus the SFL General, I think that Vegas blew everybody's mind when they took a kicker with the 10th pick. And I didn't know if we were going to see a run on kickers or what was going on there.
Yeah, but Jess just fits everything with them. Like I think it was Coach who said it, where he's a whole front office.
Right.
So that made a lot of sense to get him at that pick because he brings so much more value to the franchise.
Right. Let me go back to Cam for a second. Cam, we talked. I don't know if you had a chance to listen to my show on Thursday night. I think you listened to Tuesday, but not Thursday, maybe. And we talked extensively about the Harrell family. And we basically talked about how many there are. I think we decided there were 7 of them in here. They covered several different positions. And I think we were anticipating probably maybe 3 or so going. I see two surprises here with the Harrell family. Number one, David Harrell going number one, even though we knew he'd be an early pick. I don't think we thought he was going to go number one. And I think the second surprise is not another Harrell family member going in the first round. What do you think? What are your thoughts on that? Oh, Cam, are you there?
Yeah, forgive me, Dave.
Yeah, no, you're okay.
Yeah, that was a little surprising. You know, the Horrells are a slam dunk, right? I mean, they're not going anywhere. And they're a family, and they argue about, you know, team supremacy over dinner and all sorts of stuff. So I mean, that it's a really good unit. I think it speaks to the depth of the draft when you've only got, you know, one of them going. And remember, Brian is already in Houston. He re-signed after signing mid-season last year, so they've already got one in the majors. But yeah, I was a little surprised that it didn't happen, but we got a long way to go, and I have no doubts that they're all going to find homes.
Yeah. Eddie Gage, when Fort Worth was getting ready to select at 19, and I can't remember which Harrell is also a linebacker, so my apologies for not remember which one. Did you think they were going to grab another Harrell and have the linebacker tandem, kind of like Lone Star has the Bash Brothers?
I absolutely did, because I've spoken to the Harrells on a number of occasions in recruitment, and a number of them have said that they would prefer to try and stay on the same team, and particularly the husband and wife. So when the wife signed, I just knew the husband was right behind her once their pick was up and he was still on the board. So that was a bit shocking to me.
Okay. Hey, Gunny, are you ready for your pearls of wisdom to shout out? Let me see. Is Gunny still in here? Yeah, you're muted. Hey, Gunny, what were you going to say about season 14 non-contracts? I think we can get Gunny unmuted. Gunny had a shout out. If he's trying to get unmuted, I'll just talk. That there was several season 14 non-contracts, I guess, that went back into the minor league and played and then got drafted today. And I think there was a few of them he was going to talk about. So I'll wait till he gets his situation fixed and we'll go back to him. Going back to the mock panel draft, you know, we talked about the Harrell family, like I said before, and we talked about other families. And somebody refreshed my memory. QCC, when QCC was on the board at 16, is it Bajan or Begin, or what's the last name? Does anybody know?
Begin.
Yeah, Begin.
Okay, and then so I think the assumption there, staying with the tune of the family, did you guys think, and you can answer this, it's a twofold question to each of the panelists, and I'll go in order. Number one, same question that I asked Eddie. Did you think the Fort Worth was going to draft another Harrell at 19? And then did you think, and I'm sorry, I don't remember the wife's name, was going to be drafted at number 16 at Queen City? And I'll start with Frank.
I had Tina Begin going to Baltimore at 15, and once she was not picked there, I thought for sure at 16 she would go. And then as far as another Harrell to Fort Worth, I did not think that at all. I thought that's where Mike was going to slide in.
Okay. Okay, gotcha. Let's see. Who's next? Twin Screw, how about you?
Say the question again.
Did you think Tina was going to get drafted at 16th with Queen City? Excuse me. And did you think David Harrell's, I can't remember if it was his wife or his daughter that's a linebacker also, was going to get drafted number 19 at Fort Worth?
I had I had David at number 3 in London. Obviously, he went number 1. I did have Tina at 16 to Queen City, and I didn't have KT on my first. I had KT in the second round of Mexico City.
Okay, so once you saw David Harrell go to Fort Worth in the first pick, did that change your thought process during the draft for Queen City's pick at 16?
No.
No. Okay. Thomas, how about you?
Honestly, for the Harrell pick, I didn't see Fort Worth going with another Harrell there, just because they need to fill their whole D-line. So I kind of pictured them maybe taking a defensive tackle there. It wouldn't have really surprised me if they took another Harrell, but I just didn't see it. And then with the Tina Begin pick, I was pretty convinced that Tina was going to go to Queen City just because of Albert being there as their GM. But No, wasn't really anything surprising there.
Okay, and then last word, Eagle.
Yeah, so I actually had Casey Morrell going to Houston because I figured right after in the first round with the fourth pick. But I actually had Tina going to Mexico City because I played with Tina in Albuquerque. And for some reason, I thought she said that she didn't really want to play with Queen City. She wanted to have some family, banter going on in the house. So that's why I kind of stayed away with Tina at Queen City.
Yeah, and I think, Eddie Gage, weren't you asked that question on the air about if you wanted to have your wife play with you on your team?
Yeah, that was an odd question. I wasn't expecting that one. So,
do you want to take this time to change your answer now that you have time to think about it?
Well, now that I have time to think about it, I definitely would not want her on the opposing team because she doesn't really necessarily take it too seriously as much as I do. But if she ever was to, and we played each other, that would not be a good discussion at dinner, so to speak.
Well, I know we've had husband-wife teams in the past playing on opposite teams.
Damon has his wife on his team.
On his team?
Yeah, she's one of the generic wide receivers, so to speak.
Oh, so maybe we need to have Damon on the show. Maybe if we do this again tomorrow night, we'll ask who's really running the show in Houston. Before we've gone about 49 minutes, and I've always said that I'm going to keep this show under an hour. So I'm going to start with Cam. Actually, I'm going to end with Cam. I'm going to start at the top with Adam here, and I'm going to ask everybody the same question. So we're just going to go down in order, unless Gunny's ready for his pearls of wisdom. Gunny, are you ready?
I'm here.
All right, Gunny, let's hear him. What did you have to say?
Hey, I just want to give a big shout out to fellow season 14 non-contracts that were drafted the first round tonight. Week 2 signees were David Harrell from Carolina, Ace Finnick from Vancouver, Brody Gulch played at Denver. Week 4, Charleston was Butch Meaner. Week 8 was Cameron Shaw from St. Louis. And after that was Roscoe Santagria from Tulsa. So congratulations to all those guys for playing season 14, headed to the minors, and back in the majors again.
Awesome, Gunny. How many total was that?
That's about 8.
8 of them. Okay, good. See, dude, we always depend on Gunny. He's always got those little details that we're looking for. That's what we love about him. Final thoughts, final question, and then we're going to wrap this up. And then also for you guys in the chat, I want to know, this was totally impromptu. We just decided to do it like during the draft. If you guys think you're interested enough that we can do this again tomorrow night, maybe even after every round, shoot me a DM if you want to be on the show. I'll try to get different people on because I know there were some more people that wanted to get on tonight and I just couldn't squeeze them in. DM me or throw it in the chat. Or you can, what's his name? Shoot, I just forgot his name. I was going to have you message somebody else, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, Adam, starting with Adam, and we'll go down the line. What are you looking forward to the most tomorrow? Do you have something in your head that, a certain person you're looking for, something a certain team's going to do, a certain surprise, I don't know, a trade, anything? What are you looking forward most in round 2 tomorrow?
So a couple things for me. Obviously, interested to see where Denver goes with their 2 picks. And then the trades that I think will start happening once you get into the back end of that second round with the teams that have their 3rd pick, essentially. I think you're going to see a lot of movement with those picks.
Okay.
So those are the 2 things that I'm kind of looking for tomorrow.
Okay, great. Coach, how about you?
Similar. Lone Star's got our last 2 picks before the supplemental tomorrow, and I'm really looking forward to getting those guys on board and seeing who they are and all of that. So I'm looking forward to that a lot.
Okay, awesome. Eagle, what about you?
So I didn't have any wide receivers going at all in the first round, so I'm hoping that a few of us get called tomorrow. That's really what I'm hoping for tomorrow.
Okay. Frank?
With what Eagle said, I see a run on some offensive players, particularly wide receiver. And then, interesting enough, the end of the round where the primary position is not really needed there, you can go secondary. who's playing a different position in the minors going at an offensive position or defensive position.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see if we have a run on maybe quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers tomorrow. Gunny, are you unmuted? Are you able to say what you're looking forward to tomorrow? Maybe some more non-contracts or something?
Yeah, I'm cheering on Eagle Mondavi, Ezekiel Love, again, some fellow season 14 non-contracts.
Nice. Okay. Zach Holdorf, you're back with us. What about you?
Yeah, just run on offense, wide receivers, running backs, quarterback, and hopefully my name gets called.
Right. I'm sure you're looking forward to that. Mike All, same question.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to see trades happen. Apparently, this will be the first time for that, and I'm excited to see how those play out. And also, I'm hoping to hear many more of my fellow Lincoln Rattlesnakes names called tomorrow.
Nice. I'm actually, when I get to Cam too, I'm going to ask him how many trades we had last season's draft. Twin Screw, how about you?
Definitely some run on some wide receivers. Let's make that happen.
Why'd I know you were going with that?
I am also, like Frank said, really interested to start with pick 34 to see where those start going with the secondary picks. And definitely just seeing some of these guys get picked up tomorrow in the second round would be
awesome. Okay, and then Thomas, what are you looking forward to tomorrow?
For me, honestly, I think the first round showed it a little bit. I'm really looking forward to seeing more offensive line going because I think with rosters expanding to 20 people, we're going to see a pretty big run on O-line this year. We saw 2 obviously go in the first round. And then as someone who has O-line listed as one of my secondary positions, I've actually received a phenomenal amount of interest from teams asking me what positions I would want to play and things like that. So I think we're going to see a huge run on O-line in these upcoming rounds.
Interesting point of view there. Eddie, what about you? What are you looking forward to tomorrow in round 2?
Tomorrow, first of all, I can't wait for the day where the league staff expands to the point where we can have live trades happen for draft picks as they happen during a draft. That would be phenomenal. I mean, that's like next level to the third power right there. I can't wait for that day.
Well, go ahead, finish.
But as far as tomorrow goes, I don't know. I'm just looking for some more surprises. I always wait for them to see who's gonna get drafted, where that's gonna just shock my mind. It happens every darn SFL offseason. So I just want to see what picks are gonna come out there that's gonna take the league by storm. I've heard from some people, talking behind the scenes about they're gonna make some moves, they're gonna surprise some people. Some of those took fruition today, but I'm just waiting for the rest of them to come out. It's a great time in the offseason. I love it.
Okay. All right, Cam, you're getting the last word and you're getting the last question. It turns out it's going to be a threefold question now. So first, what are you looking forward to tomorrow? Second, do you remember how many trades we had in the draft last season? And number 3, what do you think about Eddie Gage's question about on-the-fly trades?
I'll answer the last one first.
Okay.
That could have happened tonight. We were prepared for that to happen tonight. It just didn't. So we're waiting for that moment. You don't have to wait for the league to get next level, Eddie. We're already there.
I forgot about that was implemented. You're right.
Second, we haven't had trades in years because of the draft structure. I think the last trade we probably had in a draft, I'm going to say that was season 8.
I thought I was gonna say 9. But
so last year's trade that ended up getting nixed was that was the only trade that was proposed last season.
Well, now Alan's saying that we had a trade last season, and I believe him. I guess I just don't remember it. I'll rephrase. We have never had a lot of trades, or it's been a long time since we've had a lot of trades. I thought we'd get some trades tonight.
Right.
Charleston and London last year. That's true. I thought we would get some trades tonight. We didn't. I am going to guess that was due to the fact that it was the first round and everyone just kind of wanted to make sure that everything went right, kind of like how you saw with the NFL. We saw very few trades in the first round of that as well, as teams, kind of wanted to make sure that they got their feet wet and under them. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. I think with secondary picks and people having different needs and people being able to use picks as assets until they fill up a roster, I think we'll see maybe a little bit more of a shakeup. And then the last part of your question is what I'm most looking forward to tomorrow. I think there's just so many great players that haven't been picked yet. I think we'll be sitting here at the end of round 2 and we'll be talking about all these people that still haven't been picked yet and how is that even possible and blah, blah, blah. And so I'm just looking forward to that continuing. But with your last 90 seconds of your show, Dave, because you always tell it like it is, and I am eager to hear about your opinion here. How was the draft for you, Dave?
Are you talking about this season's draft as a viewer?
Yes.
Or
how was round 1 watching it at home for you tonight?
I thought it was, even though I was in the draft last season and I was in the first round, which was the only round that was televised, I actually thought that this draft was better. I think the having everybody on screen, I think, instead of going back and forth in the room, I think was a little smoother, a little more streamlined, if you will. I actually enjoyed the presentation of how things were set up better this draft than I did last draft. For whatever that's worth.
Good to hear.
You know what? And I know I said I wouldn't go more than an hour, but I'm going to lie. I'm going to ask Ken one more quick question. And it's actually more of an explanation. I just want to make sure, I mean, I understand it, but I want to make sure that the listeners understand the rule change that happened yesterday. Can you just kind of break it down into layman's terms real quick and explain what the change was for the draft in rounds 2 and 3?
Yeah, essentially, teams that had a third pick in the third round that ended up having their third pick in the second round, it was a lot of teams felt like that was unfair. We've had a sliding scale for picks since we've ever had drafts, and it was, I guess you could call it, an oversight by league staff and by teams that really nobody really brought it to any sort of attention until early June.
Mm-hmm.
And then I kind of got hung up with a move of headquarters, and so that kind of prolonged or delayed discussions of what was happening, and the fact that it even got passed was pretty shocking to me, because things like that close to a season usually don't get enough support to pass.
Right.
So that was big, but what it does is it gives those teams the ability to go and get that secondary player with that third selection. But it was important for the league to make sure that primary positions were still protected. And so 7 of those 10 teams that have future picks will have to take a primary later.
Okay.
So they're getting that secondary pick, secondary position pick with their third selection, but it does have to be paid back.
Right.
And that was the compromise that got the most votes. There was another very good proposal on the table that I would have been more than happy to put the stamp on. It just didn't get as many votes, and here we are today.
Okay, good. There was a question in the chat about that, so I wanted to make sure everybody understood that. So
yeah.
I don't know who it was, but thank you for that question. Thank you to all, I think it was like 12 of you who chimed in here at the last second, jumped in here, and was able to help me put on some content for the viewers tonight about the draft. If you guys are interested in doing something like this again tomorrow, please DM me or Geralt. That's the other one. I don't know why I couldn't remember his name earlier. And I will get you on. We'll see if we can get maybe 12 different people on and discuss the second round tomorrow if there's enough interest to do it. So in the meantime, thank you everybody for listening. Thank you, panel, for showing up last second like you did. And I would just have to say, like I always do, I hope you have a glorious evening. And Eddie Gage, what do you have to say?
Thanks for coming. Good night. Drive home safely.